Live from Quito, Ecuador, I'm Sonia Gray, and this is From the South, the Midday News Brief from Tell Us Your English. We start this new edition right now. Venezuela's Constituent Assembly is swearing in the new state governors elected on Sunday. Hundreds of people gathered outside the National Assembly building in the center of Caracas to welcome the new governors. Overnight, the National Electoral Council announced officially that the socialist candidate had won in the last remaining state of Bolivar. That means the governing PSUV has won 18 out of 23 seats.
The most important thing about October 15th is that we, the Venezuelan people, reaffirm that we want peace. We want to solve our problems in peace, not through conflict. We have the opportunity to solve our problems in harmony and seek a consensus. The Chavistas, the opposition people, and those who don't consider themselves to belong either to one party or the other. We have a great opportunity, not a golden opportunity, but an opportunity made of clay and wood. A great opportunity to build what we want. And I have enormous trust in the opposition factions joining this process as Venezuelans, as common people suffering from the same issues. We hope we can work it out together.
Our correspondent Regan Nevins is outside the National Assembly building in Caracas and joins us live from there. Hello Regan, are you ready?
Hi Sonia, it's good to hear from you right now. We're standing at in the Assembly Nacional Constituyente, which is being convened in the National Assembly building here in the center of Caracas. Behind me there's a lot of noise sporadically because right now they're in the process of swearing in all of those governors that had been elected on Sunday for Venezuela's regional elections. Now there is an elephant in the room, and that elephant is the absence of 5 opposition members who, as we had been talking, you and I, Sonia, during the week, they had been deciding whether or not to show up to this swearing-in process, because from the start, from the beginning, from the moment that the assembly, from the moment that the National Constituent Assembly was sworn in, the opposition had cited that they would not respect this group, this body. This body is illegitimate in their eyes, and so they had been questioning whether or not they should legitimize the National Constituent Assembly by appearing today and being allowed to be sworn in as governors of the states they had won at those regional elections. So right now they're in quite a bit of a debacle right now in terms of whether or not they will recognize themselves as governors. And President Maduro, as we had said this week, said that to be recognized as a governor of the state that you've won, you must be sworn in before this National Constituent Assembly. Now, the president of the National Constituent Assembly, Desi Rodriguez, gave a very spirited speech before the swearing-in began. This is not verbatim. She was saying that this fight that Venezuela faces, this threat that Venezuela faces, must be won, it will be won, and through these processes, the regional elections, the National Constituent Assembly, all of these processes are the way. This form of democracy is how Venezuela will realize exactly where it wants to be, where it wants to go, and how it wants to escape this economic dilemma that it's been in for years now. Around me, surrounded by hundreds of supporters of these governors, all cheering for whomever they voted for. And today has been quite interesting to look at. For me personally, Swan, it's always interesting to see the entrance and exit of these governors, of these people in power, these ministers. They are, just like former President Hugo Chavez, they are on the ground. They are shaking hands. They are kissing people that they've never met. It's not something that you see around the world, and it's always fascinated me about Venezuela. And I'm sure it's one of the reasons why this government has been so popular with citizens here, and why they won with a landslide the regional elections. They have been around, have been working on the ground with individuals to help people on a one-on-one basis. Every time you see some sort of protest or march here, you will see persons, citizens, passing pieces of paper to ministers. And these pieces of paper that they pass will have little information on requests for assistance. And believe it or not, each of these persons will receive a call from whomever asking, how can we help you? We are willing to help. And they get help. Now you can imagine, that boggles your mind. You have millions of people who vote for these ministers, for this government. Millions. I can't tell you how many people pass papers every time they get the opportunity to, but it's a true reflection of exactly why the PSUV party has been so popular and why they continue to be popular. So behind, we're still listening to the swearing-in process with the absence of the opposition members. So we're not too certain exactly when or if they will be sworn in at all, considering their dilemma of their lack of interest in being sworn in from the National Constituent Assembly. But that's what they're being faced with right now. Otherwise, today is a pretty great day for those who voted for the governors that have been sworn in, Swiney.
Very good. On Thursday, thousands of Chavistas gathered in the city of Los Teques, the capital of Miranda State, to welcome their new governor, Hector Rodriguez. He replaces one of the main leaders of Venezuela's opposition, Enrique Capriles.
From the moment Hector Rodriguez Castro arrived, his supporters were all smiles, cheers and tears. The new governor of Venezuela's Miranda State is now one of 18 Chavistas to have dominated Sunday's regional elections on the part of the ruling Socialist Party, the PSUV. It was a landslide victory for the group that hopes most of all to win the fight against the country's economic and financial woes. It's also an ongoing fight to secure a system of democracy and sovereignty, one for which the new governor has unwavering support.
We feel great pride in the new governor. His was a hard and strong campaign, and Miranda will improve in his hands, and so the entire country.
The 35-year-old governor is one of the youngest members of the party to be inducted into a leadership position. He promises to work to improve the lives of all.
Of Nicolas Maduro has inflicted terrible pain and suffering on the good people.
Venezuela is facing international pressure that hopes to break the Latin American nation with U.S. sanctions on oil revenues and powerful government members. The pressure comes with the assistance of elements from the local opposition Mod Coalition, who are pushing for further sanctions and ultimately a Maduro exit from government. The sanctions will hit the country hard, yet Rodriguez is optimistic.
Come with us to strengthen the mission of Comandante Hugo Chavez. Come with us to construct a city for living, a city for our children, a city with dignity.
As for his supporters, they express gratitude for all the PSUV has thus far done, and excitement for what is yet to come.
We want to thank Reagan for that report of a very good profile of Hector Rodriguez. Neither the Venezuelan opposition nor their international allies reacted well to the Chavista victory in the regional elections. The Bolivarian government responded by defending the legitimacy of the electoral process. We have more in this report.
An attack to the electoral system is a political attack against Venezuela. This is what the Foreign Minister Jorge Arriaza and the PSUV campaign leader Jorge Rodriguez said in response to allegations of electoral fraud by the Venezuelan opposition and their allies in Washington.
The Colombian system is a manual electoral system. Sometimes people register just by their voice. as they are humble people and poor people without any identification. In zones controlled by the paramilitaries, where you vote with a gun pointed at your back, and they in Colombia have the gall to question the Venezuelan electoral system. Sometimes they are even killed before the elections, and nobody knows about it. Nobody criticizes it, but they can come and criticize our system.
This response is due after Colombia's President Juan Manuel Santos criticized the Venezuelan electoral system, tweeting that Venezuela would need more than general elections and an independent National Electoral Council. The victory of Chavismo was not received well in Washington. According to their State Department, the Sunday elections were neither free or fair. And in Europe, the EU's chief of European diplomacy, Federica Mogherini, stated that the results of this Sunday are stunning, and it will be necessary to verify what truly happened. The OAS Secretary, Luis Almagro, took advantage to go and attack Venezuela again. He even criticized the opposition for participating in the elections, especially after 4 months of violence.
It's not possible to recognize a result in an election in a country where there are no guarantees for the effective execution of democracy.
The Venezuelan government released a statement expressing that declarations like the one from Washington give fuel to promote the right-wing violence and chaos in Venezuela.
We say to the world and to Temer's government, but I cannot speak about the percentage of people who elected him, because he is a dictator. Dilma had 54 million votes. He didn't have anyone. And we say to Santos that he was just elected with little more than 30%. And here, just one of the governors won with just 51% of the votes. And we say to Kaczynski that he had just 21% of the votes. So come here and see real democracy. This is what we say to the world. We respect their government and their ideologies and their decision, but we demand respect for us, for our democracy and for our Bolivarian system. The socialism of this century, a legacy of President Chavez.
The Venezuelan opposition recognized the results released by the National Electoral Council, but only for the 5 states where they won a majority at the polls.
The Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit, has welcomed Venezuela's peaceful elections at the weekend. Skerrit wrote on Twitter, "Congratulations on the maintenance of democratic principles during the elections in Venezuela. Congratulations to all who participated." More news in a minute. Stay with us. Here in Talisir, we've been traveling across Puerto Rico to see how people are coping after Hurricane Maria. In this report, we see how communities are organizing to solve their hardships themselves.
We're traveling to the center of the island. Outside of Tuado, Puerto Rico's 3rd biggest municipality, we see how Maria swept away this huge bridge, leaving more than 20 families cut off. After days without help, the community set up their own camp. They call themselves the Forgotten Ones.
It's not just here. Many people have been forgotten in this country, and their needs are great.
Out of necessity, once the river had gone down, one neighbour invented a system to move across food, fuel, batteries, whatever they could. Federal aid has been patchy.
They brought some things. The army dropped food from a helicopter, but getting through is difficult.
So Jacqueline got food over to her father. It was a relief for now, but these are difficult times.
The river flooded the town everywhere. This is something that really shocks you. Something that is so sad and heavy. Here in Puerto Rico, we are humble people, good people. We help each other. We are united, working together. But it is not easy, but we can. Now, we continue to wait for the reconstruction of the bridge.
Over on the side of the forgotten community, one of the neighbors' own machines is working non-stop to open up the pathways. The fuel comes in the precarious supermarket trolley.
In the countryside, we don't know anything. We don't have electricity. We are totally isolated without any communication. Right now, if in 5 hours there is a new hurricane, we wouldn't know. We are saying that the crisis wasn't just because of the hurricane. It is because of the government. The supplies are not coming. This is what is happening.
They've been like this for more than 20 days, and what gets to them most is the uncertainty about their future.
Divers from Argentina's Navy have found a body in the Chubut River, a kilometer and a half where the activist Santiago Maldonado was last seen alive on August 1st. Officers from the criminal unit of the federal police, along with forensic experts, are traveling to the Department of Cuscamen to determine if the body is that of the missing activist. The body, dressed in dark clothes, was found hooked on the branches of willow trees in the river. Our correspondent in Argentina, Edgardo Esteban, has the latest.
Te saludo, Rey. También saludamos a toda la audiencia de Telesur y estamos frente a la...
We are here in the square of the two congresses where indigenous communities have been camping out since a couple of days ago. They are demanding a law that recognizes their lands, but also the reappearance, alive, of Santiago Maldonado. After news came out that a body was found in the area of Cuscamen, close to Esquel, in the province of Chubut, which may be the body of this young activist who was forcibly disappeared on August 1st. The indigenous communities have expectations, questions, and doubts. It is also a special week because on Sunday there will be elections here in the capital, but also because of what it means exactly, that a body has been found in an area that was already searched 3 times by the security forces, and especially because it is so close to the area of the repression carried out by the police on the 1st of August. They are also demanding concrete answers from Mauricio Macri's government, which so far keeps saying that they were not part of the crackdown during that protest by the Mapuche community in Chubut. So there's a lot of expectation surrounding the investigations by the forensic anthropologist, this prestigious group that has worked on the search for the people who disappeared under the dictatorship. Now they have the responsibility to give all of the information related to the case, when and how this person died, and if the body that was just found a few hours ago next to Chubut River is really that of Santiago Maldonado. So a lot of expectations on the news coming out in the next hours. We'll keep you up to date.
Edgardo Esteban with that essential update. In Colombia, a social leader was murdered in the rural area of the Tumaco municipality, located in the southwest department of Nariño. Jose Harry Cortez, a member of the local council of the Altamira and Frontera community, was one of 7 community leaders to receive death threats in recent months. The governor of Nariño, Camilo Romero Galeano, denounced the murder, which came just weeks after a massacre that left 7 people dead in the village of El Tandil, also in Tumaco. Peru's constitutional court is considering a final appeal to have the former president, Alberto Fujimori, released from prison. Fujimori was president of Peru from 1990 to 2000 and oversaw a brutal counterinsurgency war that left almost 70,000 dead in 2009. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison for crimes against humanity. He's also serving 2 concurrent sentences for corruption. Our correspondent in Lima, Jaime Herrera, has been following the court proceedings.
Today, the Constitutional Court here in Lima is examining the case of Alberto Fujimori, in which habeas corpus appeal have been introduced. Fujimori is currently condemned to 25 years in jail for crimes against humanity. The habeas corpus petition has been introduced by his daughter Keiko Fujimori, and this is the last instance because the petition has been rejected twice before. The judges from the previous court and the criminal tribunal both rejected the petition. So what are the arguments of Fujimori's defense? They say that the sentence against Fujimori did not present any evidence but only theories. They say he doesn't have direct responsibility for the crimes he has been accused of. Crimes like the massacre in La Cantuta University and the massacre of Barrios Altos in Lima. According to some sources, this latest petition may also be denied. But now we are at the waiting stage after the legal discussion between Fujimori's defense, the prosecutors, and the court. We are waiting for a definitive decision on whether he is going to continue in jail or not. I repeat, this will be the last chance for Fujimori's family to introduce a petition for his release.
Former Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff will seek to annul the impeachment that removed her from the presidency in 2016, based on a new confession that allegedly proves lawmakers brought votes to remove her from office. Rousseff's lawyer said the recent testimony demonstrates that the former president of the lower house paid lawmakers to vote in favor of her removal without evidence of crimes. The defense team will base their argument on these confessions from Lucio Funario, who said in court he helped Eduardo Cunha buy votes from among the officials in the lower house. We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. U.S. President Donald Trump's latest attempt at implementing a travel ban has been blocked for a second time. Judges from Hawaii and Maryland have now issued two separate restraining orders on the open-ended travel ban, effectively blocking it. Both judges labeled it a Muslim ban, as the policy targets 6 Muslim nations: Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Iran, Syria, and Chad. In late September, President Trump added North Koreans and some Venezuelan officials to the ban. Our correspondent in Washington, Jorge Gestoso, has more information. Mr. Gestoso?
Well, there is the second federal judge that was blocking a travel ban done by President Donald Trump. We're talking the federal judge of Maryland. That was also, as soon as he knew that the federal judge of Hawaii was blocking again the ban of Donald Trump, he was issuing the same thing and arguing the same thing: big flaws on the proposal. What we know that other states are going to apply the same principle. We're talking here Washington, Massachusetts, California, Oregon, and New York. The White House expressed concern. They say that they're going to appeal, and the Secretary of Communications, we're talking Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she said, quote, "This undercuts the efforts to keep Americans safe." We go back to you.
Thank you so much for that report, Jorge Gestoso. We've come to the end of this midday news brief. For these and many other stories... Oh, I'm sorry, I've been a little hasty because we have one more story for you. The Iberian Peninsula is suffering the effects of hundreds of wildfires that blazed throughout northern Spain and neighboring Portugal in the last few days. Flames spread across the Iberian countryside, which had been left extremely dry after an unusually hot summer and early autumn. The fires were fanned by strong winds left from over Hurricane Ophelia. Our correspondent, Romina Pignati, has more.
Besides the horrible landscape that I have behind me, which is the same in the center and north of Portugal and Galicia, we now have some good news. All of the fires in both countries have now been controlled. And that's thanks to the rain, because it hasn't stopped raining since last night, and because of that, all of the remaining active fires have now been extinguished. We can now assess the wider situation. Of the hundreds of fires that spread across the western Iberian Peninsula and left at least 41 people dead, here in Portugal, over 316,000 hectares have been ravaged by the fires. In Galicia, 4 people have been confirmed dead, and around 12,000 hectares were on fire. The cause of the fire remains unknown. This morning, a person who may have been involved in the fire was detained. Yesterday, the police found some helium balloons that could have been the devices that caused the fires. Today, Portugal's interior minister resigned due to the bad management of the fires. However, in the neighboring Spain, no one has taken any responsibility. We have spoken to the firemen and with the residents, and everyone has said that the bad forest maintenance policies are the reasons that the fires spread so easily. The lack of resources made this not only a natural disaster, but a social disaster.
Thanks for that, Romina Pignate from Portugal. China's President Xi Jinping has opened the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China in Beijing with a lengthy speech. He started with a promise that China would become a modern socialist country in a new prosperous era, and some of his other points included working towards easier ways for international investors to enter the Chinese market. She also reaffirmed China's commitment to the environment and the effort the country is making to fight climate change.
The dream of the Chinese people is closely connected with the dreams of the peoples in the rest of the world. The Chinese dream can be realized only in a peaceful international environment and under a stable international order. We will uphold justice while pursuing shared interests and will foster new thinking in common, comprehensive, cooperative and sustainable security. We will pursue open, innovative and inclusive development that benefits everyone, boost cross-cultural exchanges characterized by harmony within diversity.
We have come to the end of this midday news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telesyourtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Tell Us Your English, I am Sweeney Gray. Thank you so much for watching.